I don't really find any satisfaction in like ticking those boxes of like complete. And I don't think I stick to them very well. Like I definitely tried that throughout the senior year. What worked for me to stay consistent was really, for example, at the end of class, so period 6, I would probably just like waste like the last 5 minutes just thinking, what do I need to do today? Literally just writing down, okay, do this past paper, right? But maybe it's just that for the day. So making things manageable, very manageable.
Yeah.
I think having that knowledge of what you need to do that specific day, rather than focusing on everything in the future, right? Because that's very, very tolling on the mind. Having that idea keeps you like, okay, this day's done. Let's move on. I think that really helped me stay consistent, especially in those periods where there is no exams, right?
Welcome everyone to another episode of ProEd's After Class podcast. Today's guest is Johnson. He was a graduate of 2024, received an 8 of 99.95. He ended up at his school ranking first in Extension 2 Mathematics in 2024. And as an accelerated Extension 1 student, he also ranked 1 overall in his school in that cohort in 2023. He also got a state rank in English. And those are just a few of the many accolades and achievement that Johnson has achieved up to this point. Johnson, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Firstly, also, I would like to let everyone know that they hopefully will be seeing you a lot around ProEd as well, because not only do you have the blueprints and the experience to know what it takes to kind of achieve these achievements, but also hopefully you can help guide the next wave of students to be also able to kind of achieve maybe just a fraction of what you've achieved, right? So to start us off, Johnson, I'd like to ask you just to describe yourself as a student, just to let the students understand what kind of a person it takes to be able to achieve this. Because a lot of the general consensus is you have to be some sort of genius, you must study 24 hours a day, right? Just to let them know that, hey, it's not like some sort of cyborg out of space that can achieve this, like a regular person can too.
I guess as a student myself, I wouldn't say very, dedicated to academics. I know that despite a lot of work being done for the HSC, I really love to do a lot of other things. At school, for example, I do a lot of sports, tennis, volleyball, basketball with some friends sometimes. But I think what's most, special about my journey was really being consistent. Be consistent with the hobbies I like, whilst being consistent with the academic load. So not cramming everything before exams, not like cramming past papers, but rather doing everything before exams are even released. So being able to study well in the holidays, being able to use class time well, study periods. That consistency, I think, is what made me, successful in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. To get us started with, right? Do you feel like you had some sort of special upbringing that kind of gave you an advantage, some sort of special advantage in order for you to be able to achieve what you've accomplished? Or do you reckon kind of anyone can do it?
I don't think there's one stereotypical, certain upbringing that can make you successful. I think I was brought up to be quite academic, so going through OC, did selective tests, a lot of scholarship exams as well. So I think in my younger years, I was definitely, pushed by my family. Not that they were immensely like, oh, Johnson, you have to get into roost or something. Or they're more like, do what you can and just let, destiny or luck take you to wherever you want.
For sure.
And I think throughout high school, especially from year 7 to year 10, I also was quite relaxed, right? Academics, I took decently serious, but it was never like if I don't come first, a be or end thing. I think what was important for me in year 7, year 10, which carried on to the senior years, was really just the idea that if you want to do well in something and if you want to actually try something, give it your all. So don't leave any regrets, pull in the hours, pull in the effort to get to where you want to be. And I think in year 11, year 12 especially, you're literally your final 2 years of high school. It's really about understanding that you'll never have this opportunity to do this ever again. The fact that you can do whatever you want after you graduate, I think having that realization of the fact that you literally should not leave anything behind is something that really motivated me. And that's, a mindset that anyone can take. And it's not necessarily an upbringing where your parents have to push you or your friends necessarily have to like peer pressure that you have to do well. It's more like an individual thing where it's just like, I need to do the best for myself, so why don't I just go do it?
Yeah, for sure. Just to break down that a little bit, do you reckon when you were in the younger years, doing the OC exam and scholarship exams, right? Do you feel like the environment that you were growing up in, do you reckon that was like a controlled environment in which everyone was academically focused so that it was kind of like normal and natural for you to work hard and be consistent? Do you reckon that would have played an important part in kind of like that phase of your study journey?
I guess regrettably so, yes. I think you kind of have to have that, like growing up, because once you build this habit of studying, it's like a normal thing to do. I think having that kind of habit and that concept in mind is something that is, I guess, it builds like a better foundation, especially when you have friends who are also doing very, very well in those like really, really high schools. It kind of motivates you to catch up or get to their level as well. So I definitely say yes, having that kind of group around me was impactful for me.
Do you reckon that was difficult for you to be able to kind of reach that expectation because everyone was kind of in that kind of environment? Because you know how kids, when they're immature, they just go, oh, why can't I go play? So why can't I play games or whatever, right? Did you have any experience like that you thought that you were forced against your will? Or did you feel just like, oh, that was kind of normal?
Definitely had the phase where it was just like, why am I doing this, right? Especially in primary, where everyone is just having fun. Definitely in primary school, the OC phase, I was like, why am I doing so much tutoring when everyone is just having fun? I think that was kind of the reason why I lost a lot of focus and I kind of just like drifted off kind of away from that study really hard group.
Okay.
And I guess that showed in OC where I didn't do particularly well.
Okay.
And I think what changed then was I had like high expectations from like friends that I'd smash the OC, right? And not meeting that expectation was quite like, it took quite a big toll on me, I'd say.
Yeah. But I feel like at the same time, because as a child, right, you're not mature enough to kind of make the right decisions. So a lot of the times it's having the right guidance to kind of hold you accountable and force you to do the right thing, even though it's so much easier to go astray, I guess. But do you reckon now looking back, the way that happened was the right way?
I think that pathway definitely led me to where I am today. I think without that environment, I wouldn't be who I am. Understanding, for example, like studying when everyone else is having fun, like just those specific, like small, like actions. I think learning that from a young age was very important growing up.
For sure. When do you reckon it started transitioning from your parents wanted you to do it to you felt like, oh, this is the right thing to do?
It's probably like year 10. I think year 10 was like a really good age where I had an idea of what ATAR I wanted to go for and what standard I wanted to set for myself. So as an accelerant student, right? So year 10 doing year 11, like Math Extension 1.
Yeah.
I think just the mentality of like, wow, I'm really seeing my HSC now. I want to do well because this determines, for example, my ATAR, right? I think that kind of catalyzed my mindset into, I'm going to start like pushing myself rather than like my parents hinting at like, oh, go tutoring, go get this help. I think I actively searched to get more help from like teachers, from tutors. I think that year 10 stage was really where I found what I wanted, my goals in high school.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of students, because they don't have goals and they can't find motivation, they can't find the consistency, right? And the work ethic to be able to do it. What do you feel like was that reason for why like you would come back to so that it kind of kept you in line? What was that goal or motivation for you personally?
Firstly, the goal was to get a 0.95. It was to get the best I can possibly get. I think what really inspired me and motivated me was firstly friends. So friends who, I guess, set the expectations, not like strict expectations, but just like they also study very hard, right? Seeing them study motivated me to try as hard. I think what kept me in line though throughout the senior year, this might be a bit like not too like grandeur.
Yeah.
But it was literally me telling myself like, if you don't do this, you're gonna fail, which is obviously an exaggeration, right?
Yeah.
If you don't do this, you'll start like, it's gonna be like a snowball. Like you leave this behind, everything gets worse.
Yeah.
I think that's what I kept telling myself. During those moments. And like, of course I definitely like failed a lot of those times, right? I resorted to like YouTube or like Insta Reels. But I think that's normal. But I think it's really about getting those like, let's just say like 60% of those I want to give up and changing it into, all right, let's lock in, let's focus, let's get this out.
Yeah.
I think just the self-talk was very helpful.
Yeah. Reminding yourself the reasons why you started working hard in the first place, and also obviously kind of maybe sometimes scaring yourself a little bit as well to be like, oh, do you want all this hard work to go to waste? When it came to kind of like academically, right? What was kind of like the right strategy, right routine for you that made it sustainable, that made you kind of stand out from like kind of like the regular students?
So for me personally, schedules don't really work. I don't really find any satisfaction in like ticking those boxes of like complete, and I don't think I stick to them very well. Like I definitely tried that throughout the senior year. What worked for me to stay consistent was really, for example, at the end of class, so period 6, I would probably just like waste like the last 5 minutes just thinking, what do I need to do today? Literally just writing down, okay, do this past paper, right? But maybe it's just that for the day. So making things manageable, very manageable.
Yeah.
I think having that knowledge of what you need to do that specific day, rather than focusing on everything in the future, right? Because that's very, very tolling on the mind. Having that idea keeps you like, okay, this day's done. Let's move on. I think that really helped me stay consistent, especially in those periods where there is no exams, right? Because there is no real motivation to keep studying. Having an idea of what you want to do that day is what helped me.
Yeah. So setting small achievable goals on a daily basis, not just before the exams, but like consistently 365 days, every single day you're working on some small achievable goal.
Yeah.
And those will obviously compound to a lot of great work to be done over the year. Okay, that's great. How do you feel like finding tutoring and having mentors was able to help support you to where you are? Because a lot of times students, they think, oh, tutoring is just something that they do. But I personally feel, and you can agree or disagree with what I say, is you have to find the right mentors. You have to find the people that can help you specifically, right? Can you just describe a little bit about what kind of worked for you and what didn't work for you in terms of kind of like the tutoring and the mentoring, right? And why is it even important to have tutoring or mentoring in the first place? Like, do you reckon that you would be able to achieve what you got to today without that support, but also the expertise, let's say, right, of those people with the knowledge and the subject matters that you've undertook for the HSC?
Firstly, I think I wouldn't be able to achieve what I have without tutoring.
Okay.
I think what tutoring specifically does is firstly the resources. It's very, very efficient because tutoring centers like ProEd, they have so much material, they have so much content for you already like ready, which means that you don't have to waste time like finding those questions, finding those past papers. Rather, you literally just have it by asking a teacher or tutor. I think secondly, like recognizing that I'm not the most like disciplined person, tutoring really gets you to do some work. And I know this doesn't really sound like the best mindset, but I think at the end of the day, at least you get to do something, right? Tutoring forces you to do more math questions, do more revision. So I think that aspect was really helpful. I don't think I would be able to do it because spending so much time getting those materials would be so like, time inefficient. And secondly, I don't think I'm self-disciplined enough. How these mentors or tutors at, for example, ProEd helped was specifically what I found very helpful was their life experience. So being able to tell students how they dealt with their own issues, how they felt, what specific techniques or strategies they had themselves that were successful in their own lives. I think being able to hear a multitude of perspectives and experiences and just trying each of them, trying to mismatch and just mix them together to find your own. I think that was something very, very special that you really can't get if you're just studying by yourself.
What do you feel like is the difference between kind of good tutoring, good mentorship versus kind of mediocre ones that you feel like inefficient? And maybe for you yourself, because of the kind of the good work and the habits that you've put in the past, that it didn't really matter that much for you in hindsight, but maybe some of your friends that didn't have that solid foundation, maybe going to the wrong tutoring was actually detrimental to their kind of growth.
I think what really differentiates two different, like a good and a bad like tutoring company is really the relationship between the student and teacher. Well, firstly, in the bad case, it's where the class ends by the bell, right? So that 2-hour or 3-hour period during the week, once that lesson is done, there is no contact. You're not able to ask further questions. The teacher barely knows your name. They barely know like your interests, your schools. I think having that type of situation is not good at all because firstly, you really just get the content out. You don't really get to hear about the tutor's experiences, some tips or advice the tutor has. But secondly, I think you get very, very disinterested as well because it's more like a forced environment where you're just there to like you're force feed information. You're not really there to enjoy learning. Whereas a good tutoring center, I think what differentiates it is the tutor actually wants to get to know the student. They want to know your interests, what you'd like to learn, and the best way you can learn like a content, for example. And I think a good tutor would adapt their own teaching style, maybe adapt like the material as well, just to suit you. So I think that's what's most important and gets the student engaged to learn.
Yeah, for sure. sure. I remember when we used to have conversations, I'll kind of keep tabs on how you're going, how you're progressing, understanding kind of like what you need in order for you to achieve what it is. You can't do that if you don't understand the scenario, the situation, isn't it? So firstly, you have to care and you have to be invested in that journey, in the story of that student. At the same time, that's only when you can give them the right advice, give them the right kind of mentorship, mentoring, and obviously also put them into the right kind of mindset as well. A lot of times, you know, even the highest achieving kids, they sometimes have like doubts, right? Yeah. They don't know whether they can do it. And they need someone to kind of give them confidence, to let them know that, hey, this is fine. You just have to do this. We have to set out this plan. I think a lot of the times is also the plan, isn't it? Yeah. Because how do you know if you're studying right? How do you know if you're spending the right amount of time? And I feel like, well, at least at Pride, we tried to help you the best we could in order for you to be aware of, like, what were you overachieving in that you didn't really need to, and what were you kind of like that little bit that you were lacking, so you need to focus a little bit more on. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%.
How did you deal with scenarios when you were in doubt, when you doubted yourself, when you felt like you weren't able to achieve maybe the goals or the things that you set out, that you told yourself that you were going to do? And how did you overcome those things?
So during year 12, a lot of doubts, whether there be like a physics assessment where I ranked like pretty poorly, right? Like not to my expectation or not to my friends' expectations. I think what really got me through was understanding that, okay, I really can't change anything, right? What's done is done. I've gotten this mark, there's nothing I can change. So what's next, right? What can I really do next that can get me out of this situation? I think having that understanding that mistakes are meant to be made for you to reflect and improve. So understanding where I went wrong, what specific like content I need to improve on, what specific like exam technique I need to improve. Understanding what went wrong there, and like, I guess, drilling into those specific parts was very helpful, because when you look back to an exam after you develop all those skills, you're like, oh, okay, that was actually really easy if I just like really focus on those three. So I think understanding that each mistake, if you don't do anything with it, you're literally stagnant, you're in the same position. But if you pull it behind you, you take what you need and you move on, I think that will get you through anything. Even in life as well.
I think I really like that answer. Mistakes are meant to be made. You can't avoid mistakes, right? But what's done is done, and not kind of dwelling on the past, but more so using that as motivation to see how you can use that to improve and get better. Yeah. One of the students that I interviewed earlier, she was saying how she actually enjoyed making mistakes because the reason why is if you just keep getting things right, you feel like you're not studying the right thing. How come you just get everything right, isn't it? So a lot of the times, like, it actually feels more normal. You know what I mean? You feel more grounded that you do make mistakes, because then you at least, you know, oh, I have something to improve on. Because otherwise, if you just keep doing things right, like, what's the next thing to do, right? My next question to you is, of all the kind of accomplishments and achievements that you've had, how do you feel like obviously working towards them has made you a better person? How do you feel like you've grown as a person? And what kind of skills that you feel like you've developed that can transcend even past the HSC?
I think a moment I had, which was quite a big one before like trials HSC, was really, I think specifically maths for 4U, right? What should I do from like trials to HSC? Should I just lock in 4U, try to get the state rank, or just go for the 0.95, right? Because I guess it was quite hard to balance both, specifically doing everything like all the subjects well, but also specializing in a specific subject. So that was the struggle I kind of went through. And I think one thing I learned from that experience, and I guess choosing between those two, was really, firstly, if you are able to achieve what you want, it proves that as long as you try hard, you can do whatever you want. So having that mindset, which is, I'll just give it my all and hopefully it'll work out. So that's what my achievements kind of say. But most importantly was, even if I don't achieve what I want to achieve, at least I'm a better person than I was before. So not achieving that 4U state rank, for example, was like, okay, I put in so much hard work, I didn't get it. Sure, it's a bit sad, right? But at least I'm better than I was before. And I think having that mindset and that mentality really extends beyond HSC. So even if you're in like the workforce trying to go for an interview, right? You're doing all this preparation, you start doing a lot of societies, a lot of clubs. Even if you don't get into like a certain job, right? Even if it's a fail, you know that you're a better person holistically, or even like academically. So I think that was what the HSC was really about. And the achievement stuff is kind of irrelevant, to be honest. It's just like a confirmation that mentality does work, and that you should try and just give it a shot, because results come not naturally, but like if it does come, you take it.
Yeah, you gotta have to work consistently towards it, but don't let that mark kind of define you, isn't it? Like the one analogy I like to give is think about all those athletes training for the Olympics, right? Every single 4 years they have to train so hard for that one moment, but just because they didn't get a medal, does that mean that they're a failure? Does that mean that they wasted their time?
Yeah.
Of course not, right? Because it shows you kind of like the resilience and who you are as a person, right? And yeah, there might still be a better person than you, and there's always room to grow, and there's always, but you shouldn't take away the fact that you've grown so much as a person, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember this, when the Milwaukee Bucks
Oh yeah, I was thinking of Giannis.
lost the
He got so mad.
lost, I think it was the semi-finals or something.
Celtics, I think,
the
yeah.
year after they won the championship,
yeah.
right? And the reporter asked him,
Is it a failure?
was this whole season a failure?
Yeah,
I would like you to describe to the audience what his response was and why that was what you thought about it.
Like, it made so much sense because, like, firstly, Giannis, right? Insane player. Someone who tries so hard and in everything he does, that entire like off season, that entire season, trying to carry his team so hard. You literally can't call that a failure because you're achieving so much already collectively and individually that literally nothing is a failure. Like losing in like the semis or like the final, the semis is like, sure, it happens. But there are firstly more chances, but secondly, you yourself as a player, you're better now. So again, ridiculous reporter, I'm pretty sure he's fired now.
Yeah, I remember he was like, "Oh, do you see the season as a failure?" And he was like, his hands was his face was in his hand. He's like, "Bro, are you serious?
Yeah.
Did you just ask me this question? There's no such thing as a failure, right? Even through the failures, at least you grow as a person, right? You learn lessons. There's no such thing as a failure."
Yeah.
What do you plan to study next year?
So I'm planning on studying science law at UCID, but I'm also going to be applying for like overseas universities as well.
What kind of piqued your interest in those areas?
So overseas, I think specifically, you get so many more opportunities. For example, in the US, most unis are liberal arts, so you can do whatever you want in the first year and major in something in the second year. I think firstly, there's a much bigger pool of electives or subjects you can do, and also the opportunities there, the companies that are available there, the internships, the people you meet there, very like-minded people.
What about specifically the subject matters in terms of science and law? What kind of piques your interest there?
I guess specifically for the science aspect, I'll probably do something related to STEM, maths, something similar to that. I think what drove me to pick that was really my interest in maths throughout my entire life. As someone who, I guess, focused a lot on maths, done like math mentoring at school as well, I guess I really found the passion in the subject. The fact that it's really a subject about grit and experimentation. The fact that there are so many different methods and the fact that everyone has different solutions makes it a lot more exciting. I'm not too sure what I want to do with law yet, so not sure if I want to go to like paralegal, consulting, that stuff. But I think what piqued my interest was really how you're able to express your ideas clearly in a more logical sense to other people.
For sure. Cool. Being such an academically high achieving student, what was the work-life balance like?
Going to King's, so sports is compulsory in year 12. And I think even if it wasn't compulsory, I would definitely do it again. Like the schedule for sports was, for example, like Tuesday, Thursday training afternoon and Saturday sports match. So it did take like quite a lot of time. But I think what specifically helped me balance all this academic load was really being able to enjoy your time with your friends and being able to exercise, get all the energy out. Specifically about how I was able to manage the academic work. Like during school, I maybe have like one study period a day, using that time very well, doing, for example, tutoring homework. If I had sports in the afternoon or cadets, that would take up a big slot. When I go home, I'm done, right? I'm fatigued, and I think that's a very, very normal thing that happens. So, and I think after dinner is where you start to like actually do a lot of work, right? And it's that consistent work again. It's doing it every single day, making use of your study periods at school, because that really adds up. What I did in the holidays as well really helped. So not only like preparing for the next year ahead or the next term ahead, but really enjoying it as well. So I think in that year 12 break, I went to Melbourne for like a couple of days to literally take my mind off everything, take a quick reset, and get to enjoy the things I like to do, and then get back to work. I think having that break in between all that heavy stuff is very important.
Yeah. For sure. And then lastly, how would you describe ProEd as an institute? And how do you feel like ProEd was kind of different in the sense that we were able to help you kind of meet a specific thing that maybe other tutoring places weren't able to? What do you feel like that was?
So I think there's three main things. Firstly, I mentioned this before as well. It's the tutor and student relationship. Making it really, really personalized and being able to communicate with them well, being able to find their interest and adapting your teachings to that interest has been really, really good at ProEd. For example, in your classes as well, being able to know everyone's names with like 20 so people, being able to like ask us questions during the middle, really engaging us with the content. I think the second reason is resources at ProEd has been very, very good. Like from the Discord servers, which is like, you have so many tutors available, you can literally ask them any question you want from any subject, which is really good because I didn't sign up to ProEd for like English, chemistry or physics, but I was still able to ask chemistry or physics questions. The second thing about resources, it's materials are also very good. Having a quiz at the start of each lesson gets you really like warmed up, makes sure that you still remember the content from last week. A class material, it's like designed very well where it's theory content and a lot of questions, so how you're able to apply that concept immediately. And the homework, the fact that there's so many hard questions like near the end where it takes a lot of time to finish. And I think having that type of structure was really helpful to maintain the information and also do well in those types of exams. I think thirdly is really just the environment and overall spirit of ProEd. It can literally range from the merchandise you guys give to students, like the pens, the tote bags. It really builds like a community where rather than I go to ProEd just to learn, you go to ProEd to have fun, to meet friends, to learn as well. I think that's what differentiates ProEd from like literally every other college.
Yeah, I also feel like, just to add to your point, a lot of students when they go to tutoring, they're just listening to the guy at the front talk. What I like to compare that to is like, if you're watching a good movie or you're watching LeBron James play basketball, you, at the end of that experience, yeah, you enjoyed it, but the biggest thing you got out of it was LeBron was such a good basketball player, or that teacher, you know what I mean, knows math well.
Yeah.
But it's also as important to let the student or the audience, right, know that they can do it too, isn't it? And I think that's why what you described earlier, that is a big focus of what ProEd is trying to do. Because why does ProEd give you time to ask questions? Why does ProEd give you like time to kind of try that yourself? It's because it's kind of like you watch LeBron James do the move. I want to see if I can do the move as well, right? And then I also want to know, why am I not able to do the move as effectively, as flawlessly as how LeBron's done it, right? So have an opportunity to pick the brain of the person as well, I think is very important. Otherwise, Johnson, do you have any like finishing, closing advice that you'd like to give to the students and the parents that are watching this?
I think firstly for parents, understanding that your child is a grown like person, right? They know what they want. They understand what they should be doing. So I think my parents like did this very well. They trusted me a lot. So they gave me a lot of freedom in how I wanted to, for example, schedule my day, which specific tutorings I wanted to go to. I got to like decide all that at the end of the day. I think that's very helpful. It also gives you a lot, like the child, a lot of confidence that the parents has got their back. Like they trust you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Something that I find to be very overrated is doing like 100 past papers. I think I tried that in 2023 for 3 exam.
Yeah.
And I think the mistake there is you start to lose focus on reflecting on your mistakes. Rather you're doing past papers for the sake of doing past papers. So telling your friends, oh, I did 40 past papers, how many did you do? Stuff like that, right? It gets to a point where it becomes very tokenistic. So being able to stop, like finish one past paper, spend a good amount of time realizing the mistake, realizing, okay, this is not just a silly mistake. This is happening every single time. Like finding the actual origins, how I'm able to fix it. And I think something I found very helpful was writing that mistake down.
Yeah.
So at the end of, I guess 3 or 4 years, I had like this massive table of questions, papers, mistakes. And it doesn't really seem like it will help at the start. But once you go close to those exams, those like you literally just read through that entire table of all the mistakes you've made. And you kind of just like, okay, I'll keep this in mind when I do another past paper or when I sit the actual exam.
And then just some final words of advice, encouragement for the students.
Leave no regrets behind. Make sure you literally put in all the effort you can. Understand that each assessment is not the be-all end-all. There's always space to improve. There's always space to excel. And also recognizing that having a break, having like a balance with friends is also really important.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming, Johnson. And you guys will be seeing Johnson around at ProEd, that's for sure. And maybe we'll come back and revisit this conversation in 5-10 years.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like some of the audience can look forward to as well. We are going to be inviting a lot of past students that we've had maybe 5-10 years ago, and then showing people what it is really like to work in the real world. But yeah, so everyone look forward to that. And thanks, Johnson, for coming today.
Yeah, no
Thank
worries.
you.